I've got the looks and the charm of an old movie star. Cary Grant, if you will, so I find it bizarre that this girl should refuse to step into my car. She must be shy, she'll come around, it's just a matter of time. Aurora, Aurora.
Hey there, Screen Beans, and welcome to Screen Snark, a podcast that celebrates all of the shows that are in our eyes, on our minds, and in our hearts. I am Rachel Quirky Shank.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
Yeah, and I have a cold, and I'm sorry, listeners, that you have to listen to my post-nasal drip bullshit today.
I still think you sound lovely, at least
Thank
lovelier
you.
than I do, which is not saying much.
My dulcet tones are more mucus tones. I don't know.
Sure.
I didn't have a good one there. We are recording very late o'clock.
Yeah. It's past our
so
bedtimes.
We're all gonna be real punchy today.
Oh yeah.
But I would love very much to introduce our guest for this episode, if I may be so bold.
Go for it.
One of my longest friends.
Like physically long, like long cat.
Yes, yes, and yes, long, and yes, long in terms of time.
Okay.
The incomparable Wally Oruam.
Hello,
Hello, Wally.
You said
Thank
it
you for being
right,
on the
too.
show.
I did, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
like-
like I do this for a living.
I know.
Or not for, well, at least for fun.
Yeah.
If we were doing it for a living, it would be way better.
Yeah. Nah, I disagree.
Well, it'd be
would-
better for
we would-
us, not necessarily better
Yeah.
quality.
No, the quality of this show would not be altered at all in terms of what it is if someone gave us money for it.
I mean,
No.
if they gave you money, it'll probably be instead of 2 microphones, it might be 2 cans on a string.
Yeah,
lucky.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
for
funny,
sure.
Wally is kind of infamous to me as the guy who likes all our posts on the Screen Snark page.
Yes.
You know what? I really like I'm a lover of memes in general, and when someone posts a meme, I'm gonna like it.
Yeah.
That's just my knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, Wally's like a meme machine.
I'm kind of proud of that.
Yeah.
I'm very
Excellent.
proud of that.
Wally's got them meme skills. Wally's the reason that I took longer to quit Facebook than I did. It's true. I was like, I'm gonna quit Facebook, but those Wally memes, though,
Them
Look,
Wally memes, though.
I know what the public likes.
you
And
gotta
I
give
try
them what they want.
I try my best to give it to them.
Yeah,
That's
someone
true.
at Facebook should pay you for marketing
They
Facebook.
really should.
They
Because
should.
I stayed there longer than I should have
Yeah,
for your
really.
good memes.
I mean, what am I doing with my life?
Well, Wally, we're excited to have you on the show, and we're going to get into all the awesome stuff that you're up to in a little bit.
Of course.
But first, 2 things. One, we're going to do our usual shtick of talking about
Yes.
the latest thing we've watched. But before that, I have big news. We have
Yes.
T-shirts finally.
Oh, we do. Yes, let's plug the merch.
Let's
I
plug
didn't
the
know
merch.
when we were gonna do it.
We
I
might
love
have
that
done
we're
it
doing
later,
it now.
but I'm going to do it now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, let's do it now. Why not?
teespring.com/stores/certain point of view, and you can buy your very own Hey There Screen Beans t-shirt or Back on Our Bullshit t-shirt with our lovely logo designed by the incredible Katie Bug. They come in a variety of colors, along with all of the other certain POV t-shirts for like Reignite and Certain Point of View and Fun and Games, Men of Steel. So yeah, go check out that awesome merch.
Yeah.
Buy one, and if you buy one, take a picture and send it to us, and we will feature you on our social media because we
Yeah, for sure.
'Cause-
Because we're vain.
very vain.
We need this validation. Please validate us.
Buy our stuff, please.
Please buy our stuff and validate us and help us stay aboard on the Certain POV podcast network.
Yeah, we have
'Cause
to
who
pull our
knows,
weight.
Who knows when they're gonna fire us?
It could be any day.
Could be now. We could be fired and we don't know it.
To be fair, I have enough podcasts on the network that I think I'm a bigger stakeholder than the people who created it at this point. So, there's that.
I'm just one person
You are just one person.
who does this. So,
But one person who's the quality of maybe 3 or 4 people, I'd say.
oh, thank you. What is where did you come from, Matt? You are just like, you're like I'm a piece of bread, and there's like so much butter on me now. You like, it's like falling off the sides.
I'm in a strangely-
I'm positively saturated.
I'm in a strangely good mood, and it ties into the thing I've been watching most recently. that has to do with some current events of things that happened today. And so I
Yeah.
will lead into that now and talk about what I've been watching most recently. So tonight I had the absolute pleasure, for not the first time, but probably the best time, of meeting my hero, Rob Paulsen. For those who don't know, Rob Paulsen is the voice of every one of your favorite cartoon characters
Yes.
in life. He's Carl Weezer on Jimmy Neutron. He's Raphael in the original Ninja Turtles. Donatello in a more recent incarnation of the
Yes.
Ninja Turtles. Yakko and Pinky from the Animaniacs / Pinky and the Brain. He was Snowball in Rick and Morty. The list goes on and on. He's a prolific voice
Wait,
actor.
he was
Snowball?
Snowball?
He was Snowball.
Both Wally and I just went.
Yeah, he was
What?
Snowball in the episode where Snowball,
Wow.
raises an army of sentient dogs. Yeah, he was Snowball.
You know what? That didn't sound anything like anything he has ever done.
No.
And that just shows the range that
Yeah.
the guy can do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so tonight at the Strand Bookstore in Union Square in Manhattan, he did.
Oh, very cool.
He just put out a book called Voice Lessons, which is his memoir. He recently had and beat throat cancer, and so he decided to write a memoir.
Wow.
And so I went to this, and not only was he and his co-author there, but also Randy Rogel, who wrote all the music for Tiny Toons and Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain, was there, and they played a few songs. He sang Yakko's World, which of course everybody loves and is amazing.
Yeah.
And it was just lovely. And I've been fortunate enough to be friends with him on Facebook for a long time, Rob Paulsen. I friended him, he said yes, and we interact very minimally on social media. But bless his heart, the minute I got to the table to get him to sign the book, I said to him, hey, we've met a few times. You may not remember me. My name's Matt Storm. He's like, Matt, of course, you shared the event the other day. I totally remember you. How are you doing? It was just the sweetest human.
That's lovely.
That's wonderful.
He's a dear, dear human, one of my heroes, and I'm a big voice actor nerd, but I've been in love with his work for ages. I'm so excited to read the memoir. But the reason this plays into it is because very recently Hulu added all of Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain onto Hulu because it was just announced, and what actually broke the news was Rob's book, but they are rebooting Animaniacs with all of the original cast, Yakko, Wacko,
damn.
Dot,
Oh, nice.
and Pinky and the Brain, all the original voice actors. It's coming sometime next year, and so I have been, since it's been on Hulu, been rewatching Animaniacs, and so that's what I'm going to talk about today. But I'm so
It was zany to the max.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. So first of all, like, there was something very special about the Steven Spielberg era of cartoons that we haven't really had anything since. And Steven Spielberg is the executive producer of the reboot of Animaniacs as well. But like,
first of all, hold
Yeah.
on. Oh, the nostalgia machine.
oh my
for
god,
fucking real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot believe
You know,
it.
when you think about it, it's like we are definitely in a world, right? The way the world in America is right now, we are definitely ripe material for an Animaniacs reboot.
Oh,
it's
for
true.
sure. And what's really funny is that Rob told a story during the Q&A today that Steven Spielberg pitched it to Apple, Hulu, Netflix, and Amazon, the big ones that are streaming right now. And Hulu ended up buying it. But when he did it, he brought photos of the original 4 voice actors, Maurice LaMarche, Trace McNeil, who is the voice actor for Wacko? I'm blanking on, and Rob Paulsen. It'll come back to me. And said, these 4 are a must. They have to be in the show. We're rebooting it. We can get a different showrunner, like however you want to do it, but these 4 have to be in it. And went to bat for these working voice actors who've been working a long, long career. And I think that's super epic. But yeah, Wally's absolutely right. Like, we are in the right time for one of these shows. But for those who may not be familiar with Animaniacs or may not know what I mean by the Steven Spielberg run of cartoons, starting with Tiny Toon Adventures in the 90s,
Which ruled.
which
Oh, that was
absolutely
amazing.
ruled, Steven Spielberg executive produced that cartoon. He wanted to make cartoons. He's been wanting to work on children's programming for a while, and he teamed up with a ton of really great writers and created this show. after it reached a successful point, he decided he wanted to create a blank slate. He wanted to make a show that's in a similar vein, but with all new characters. And so Animaniacs was born, which then had a segment called Pinky and the Brain, which spun off into its own show. And then they also spun off into a show, Hysteria, that was more educational and history focused. All of those shows had the similar kind of wacky sensibility. Like, it was slapstick. It was a modern version of Looney Tunes.
And don't forget about Freakazoid.
Oh, and
Yeah,
Freakazoid.
Freakazoid.
Absolutely. Which was also
Super Brain
phenomenal.
Extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Super Brain Extraordinaire.
Runs around in underwear.
Such a great show.
Freakazoid. First of all, I loved all of these cartoons.
Yeah, they were great.
Oh, they were.
And they all had like the same voice cast interspersed with other voice actors as well. But there were a ton of like Maurice LaMarche, Tress MacNeille, Rob Paulson worked on all of these shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so with the news that broke the other day of this reboot happening and that the original cast signed on, one of the showrunners of the early seasons of Family Guy, and who was like the right-hand man to Seth MacFarlane, is supposed to be showrunning. Like, it's got a good pedigree. I wanted to go back and watch the original episodes. And so I went on to Hulu. I kind of rolled through the seasons and just kind of picked episodes at random just to rewatch stuff. Because I probably never watched any of these shows in season order when I was a kid. I didn't know what seasons were back then.
No,
Oh,
because
we didn't know.
they just came on.
Yeah,
like,
we didn't know. Yeah, and like when the season finale happened, it was that weird dead period where we were like,
You just,
"Where's our cartoons
like,
at?"
then they played them in syndication.
Yeah.
You know.
It's funny, speaking a slight aside before we get to Animaniacs, which we all know holds up because of course it does.
Yeah.
100% holds
Yeah,
up.
I'm ready for this history lesson to be done because I have thoughts.
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts too.
When I was a kid, and what really got me into Marvel Comics wasn't the comic books, but it was in fact the 90s animated cartoon series. So X-Men and Spider-Man most specifically.
Yeah.
And I swear, I remember that when the series introduced Venom, who was one of my favorite characters from the comics and like other earlier media that I'd seen him in video games or whatever, that the season finale was Eddie Brock getting consumed by the symbiote and not even seeing Venom, and then just the season premiere was when Venom was on a rampage. And like I remember being so excited, and I had to wait so long to see it because it was a season break. Very recently, although they may not still be on now, but for a while Netflix had that old Spider-Man cartoon, which I loved. That was in the middle of, not even in the middle of a season. It was just 2 episodes. And so in my brain, I can't understand why I had to wait so long. I mean, what probably happened is that they were aired out of order on Fox, like they do with everything.
Yeah.
But I remember blowing my mind that when I was a kid, I had to wait all that time. And now as an adult, I'm like, oh, they were just like random weeks within the series. What the hell? And I remember that with a lot of cartoons growing up. Like, I don't remember there being an order. I'm sure there was. But yeah, spoiler alert, Animaniacs holds up, and it's still phenomenal. The jokes are still hilarious, and I love it.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was streaming on earlier this year because I dipped my toes back into watching Animaniacs and was like, oh, I love this show. I love it so much. And it really explains a lot of like my comedic aesthetic, just like that weird sort of non sequitur kind of oddball, like what's the weirdest thing that can happen? We'll go weirder. Like I love it. Also, it's been ingrained in me personally since I was very small. I remember I had to take a test where I had to list all of the presidents up to that point, and
that
Animaniac
song,
was
yeah.
happening, and so it was like, hi ho, do you know the names of the U.S. residents who then became the presidents and got a view from the White House, from Pennsylvania Avenue. Like, I had that song memorized. I aced my president's test. I was in, like, the 4th grade. And, like, also they just had a lot of other things. Like, I wasn't much of a gamer as a child because girl parts, I guess. But I did play the hell out of the Animaniacs Nintendo game.
I remember that game.
I remember, like, trying to beat the guard who would, like, I could never beat the guard ever, and I didn't care. I was like, fine, I'll just start it from the beginning and play to the guard fight and then start it from the beginning again. Oh, I can taste that memory.
Yeah, there are episodes that I clearly remember, but the problem is I don't remember what bits were in what episode. Like the episode I will never, ever, ever forget is Wacko's Potty Emergency.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like that one is ingrained in me. But also, like I remember there's a gag where they're trying to investigate something.
Yes.
And
yes.
and
yeah.
Yakko mentions looking for fingerprints, and Dot pulls out a cartoon version of Prince and goes, and it flies under the radar, goes, fingerprints? I don't think so, and throws him away. And it's like,
Yeah.
that is not a kid's joke, and it's so good.
Every time Yakko looks at the camera, just mugs at it and goes, "Good night, folks," is the showrunners and the writers and everybody recognizing that they've probably gone too far.
Yeah, I remember
and they're
that.
just gonna like pull the cartoon like right in. They're just like, "Nope, no more of this." So every time I was like, "Good night, folks." We did it. Oh my God, we made it. We made it through that one. We made it through the joke about sticking fingers into pop icon Prince.
Well, also, like Rob Paulson talks about, he talked about tonight at the Q&A, Hello Nurse is a old Groucho thing. Like it became an Animaniacs thing, but that the inspiration for Yakko is a mix of Groucho Marx and some other things, and that a lot of the one-line bits are more or less pulled directly from those old movies.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, not to be a weird, like, lorist of the Animaniacs, but they were of that time. Like, their entire lore is they were created at the same time as, like, these old black and white, like, cartoons and pieces of pop culture, and were just too wacky.
Too wacky. And I think and it fit that they were,
And
like...
they were in prison.
Yeah, they were... Oh, my gosh. Wow.
They
that's right.
escaped prison.
They escaped prison.
Repeatedly. So dark.
And it makes a lot of sense that considering, that deep Animaniacs lore, that they have comedy from that era and everything. And it just reflects, the kind of, like, they were the product of that era. Mm-hmm. And it shows, like, how great the writers were, that they were able to recreate that comedy from that era and make it relevant for the modern time that it was at that time.
Yeah.
The modern time, it made it just incredibly funny. And I think for me, because when I watched it as a kid, I think, like, because I was big into old movies and old comedies, like, I absorbed stuff like Three Stooges as a kid. And watching Animaniacs, it resonated in me because this was that old comedy you would see. And it, like, kind of, like how you said to you, that the show kind of created the sense of humor you have now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It really creates the humor that I have, where it's like, I love humor that's witty and snarky and, like, right to the point, like, smart and, like, as a whip kind of thing. I love humor like that. And that is what Animaniacs was. And to the extent, that's what Freakazoid and Pinky and the Brain, that was the humor that they created after, like, post Tiny Toons humor.
Yeah.
And Tiny Toons, like, don't get me wrong, Tiny Toons had great humor, but it was like, if I could compare it to anything, like, Tiny Toons was the pop culture stick wavier that Family Guy was.
Yeah.
Originally. And then Animaniacs did it again, but they went hard on it. They did not hold back at all. And then when you had Freakazoid, where, like, Animaniacs was like pop culture, Freakazoid was like, oh no, we're going to talk about the government in everything we do.
Yeah.
And it's like, see, the Steven Spielberg era of cartoons was pretty much Steven Spielberg going like, look, I'm not pulling any punches. I'm going to make fun of everyone and everything in this time and era.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't say Jess Harnell, who is the voice of Wacko. I remember
That's
everyone
what it
else's
is. I
name.
was thinking really hard about that.
Yeah. I had to look it up.
Have you ever watched his show that he did, like Rob Paulson's show?
Oh yeah, Talking Tunes, his podcast.
Yeah, I
Yep.
love that show
good.
so much.
Started as a podcast and then became a YouTube series, and yeah, it's what reminded me that I loved so many of his roles, because I knew who Rob Paulson was, and I knew Yakko and Pinky and Raphael and then Donatello, but it wasn't until Talking Tunes started I was like, oh, this guy's done literally everything.
Everything.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
And knows everyone, because he had everybody on his show. From Maurice LaMarche to Stephen Bloom to like people in different genres of animation. It didn't matter. He knew all of them. Billy West, John DiMaggio, all of them. Yeah.
I love it.
I love that guy so much.
And so, like, Animaniacs, I grew up on, and I agree, Rachel. Like, it was formative for me in a way that I don't know that I can articulate. But you're talking about it formed your sense of humor. I think it's the same for me. Like, a lot of my sense of humor is winking at the camera, very sarcastic, very like, I'm a smartass. I've always been a smartass.
Yeah.
But I'm a smartass in a way that I can sort of get away with it, and in the idea that like that was always Yakko's shtick, is like he was adorable, but also was a smartass, and will like also kind of say things as they were. And as I developed into my sort of show persona, I guess we can call it, like as I became someone who made podcasts and did live streams and all of this stuff, like a lot of that I think is birthed from that era of cartoons and those kinds of characters, your Yakkos, your Buster Bunnies, those kinds of characters who would like wink at the camera and be like, is this person serious? And it's also,
I think I've definitely like evolved from Mindy to Dot.
oh yes,
to be sure.
Sure.
I think
Oh, but
I think I'm definitely with you on that, Matt. Like, I definitely became a smartass because of Tiny Toons and
Yeah.
Animaniacs.
Yeah.
Definitely 100%.
And so that's what I've been watching. I've not been watching it in any order. I may go back to the beginning and watch it from the start, but it's the formula that created shows like Family Guy and other shows that do cutaway gags. Like Animaniacs was one of the first modern cartoons to do that. Those kinds of punchlines and gags existed, but mostly in live action. It wasn't, I think, really until Tiny Toons and Animaniacs that like cartoons started doing that kind of stuff, and also making cartoons that weren't just for kids. Cartoons that it was the early stages of cartoons that had stuff for parents too. Like a lot of people give that credit to Pixar, which they did in feature film do a lot of that. But I think it really started with the Steven Spielberg era of cartoons, because there were definitely gags in there that were not for kids. They were for older kids or adults.
yeah.
Also, for the record, Animaniacs ran for 5 years. There's
And one feature-length
99
movie.
episodes.
And one feature-length movie.
Yeah, in one movie. And like, I didn't realize it had run that long, because like I had no sense of time and space.
See, I feel like that's so short. Isn't that
Oh,
so
really?
strange? Or I'm just
Yeah.
like, only 5 years? How does that feel like it was my whole life, though?
I know, right?
It feels like it was forever. Like it was everything. But again, like you deal with syndication at a certain point.
Right, and who knows how many times we watched the same episode of the thing
Yeah.
over and over and over again. I mean, it's crazy also to, because Tiny Toons also only ran for like 2 years. And they had
Wait,
almost
only
as
2
many
years?
episodes. Yeah,
Wow, it felt longer for some reason.
Weird.
yeah, it's crazy.
Did you guys have the Animaniacs soundtrack?
Of
I
course.
did.
Oh, it
I had 'em
ruled. It
all.
ruled. I have the song don't know what to say. The monkeys won't do.
Uh-huh.
The monkey song, yeah.
We're not monkeys. We're just cuckoo.
I have the Gilbert and Sullivan song they
Ooh.
did stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Where I'm the very model of a cartoon. It was I'm a very model of a cartoon individual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have that stuck in my head, and because the whole episode was a Gilbert and Sullivan episode.
Jeez, it's so like Matt, you've done me for this week because you have brought something animated and something musical.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Oh God, now I'm gonna go watch all of Animaniacs.
My favorite thing about tonight was, like, I don't remember all of the songs from the cartoon. I'm sure if I heard them, I would. But the minute Rob Paulson and Randy Rogel started performing Yakko's Countries of the World live, like, the whole first verse I remembered. And while I think I've surely heard it in the last 10 years, either on his podcast, because, like, he'll do it at the drop of the hat. Like, someone could not be finishing the sentence, will you? And he'll start singing it. So, like, I'm sure I've heard it because I follow his career so closely. But that said, I definitely haven't, like, actually watched the video of it in many, many years. And I still remembered the whole first verse because I know how many times I listened to that song and watched that show.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like an episode where they got super meta with it, and instead of doing the countries of the world, he said he was going to do every single word in
the dictionary.
in the English language.
In
yeah.
the English, because that's the framing device throughout the entire record.
Yep.
Because, like, you get, like, 3 instances of that. And, like, he's getting more tired. And he's like... and it's so good. I loved that record.
And I remember, like, it ended with him going, Zaire. And he just passes out.
Yeah. My favorite thing is in the live performance tonight, Randy Rogel halfway through said, "Uh-oh, we're running out of time," and just starts playing faster. And so then Rob Paulson just does double time. It was great.
That's like
amazing.
skill. The guy can do it like that at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Like, and also,
hey, listen, 4th grade me memorized the entire President's song, so
I'm impressed with that too.
A good tune is the best way to memorize something. Like, you get a song that just like lives there, then it's there forever. At least that's my mutant power.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Rob Paulson's too.
It probably is.
It might be.
It might be.
In closing, before I wrap up and give my 3-word review, because I think at this point, if people don't know what Animaniacs is, they have to go see it for themselves. But my favorite thing about having met Rob a few times now is that he thinks he's the least talented person in the room. He gives all the credit to everybody else and is just like, he's one of the most famous voice actors of our generation. And he could be stuck up and chauvinistic and whatever, like the thing you would expect with giant celebrity, but he doesn't even consider himself a celebrity. He's super humble and down to earth. Every time you talk to him and every time you get something signed, he takes as much time as you want and treats you like you're the center of the universe. He is one of the kindest humans I've ever met. And I think that now influences me to want to continue to consume the stuff he's done. I mean, I've always been a fan, but the fact that someone who doesn't have to do that still does is brilliant to me, and is so quick to give the credit to the writers, the animators, and it's true. Like he says the things. It's them who do the other work, but like he's just so humbled that it makes me enjoy Animaniacs now on another level, just having shared those experiences with him in person.
I love it. So, Matt, if you could describe Animaniacs in 3 words, what would they be?
Zany, loving, brilliant.
Love it. Zany, loving, brilliant. Perfect. Mwah. Ugh. Go, everybody drop everything and go watch Animaniacs. You'll thank us later.
Yeah, we'll still be here.
Yes. Okay. So I guess it's my turn to talk about what I've most recently watched. So, it's the spooky season. It is October. We're doing the thing, and as one is wont to do, one will revisit old spooky Halloweeny franchises or whatever. And I was hanging out with my partner John, and we were trying to figure out like what spooky thing we wanted to watch. And like, I'm not a big like horror head in the typical way. We've talked at length about this on the show, but we did want to watch something with that aesthetic, like the fun spooky aesthetic. And it turns out John had not seen a particular Halloween movie, and I hadn't seen it till I was an adult. So we sat down and we watched The Monster Squad.
No way.
Yes way. Ugh. And now all of the Animaniacs songs have fallen out of my head in favor of Rock Until You Drop from The Monster Squad by The Monster Squad. This movie, guys, it is so 80s in such a way it makes it timeless. It's so dated that it's classic. It's kind of odd. I have some opinions about it, mostly that it's weird and charming. And for those of you who haven't seen Monster Squad listening out there, the one listener we have, Monster Squad follows a group of young boys in the 80s, or like 12, I guess, something like that.
Yeah.
And they're obsessed with monsters. Dracula, Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Like, they've obviously been watching the Universal Studios monster movies, discussing, like, how to defeat a monster or whatever.
As 12-year-old boys do.
As 12-year-old boys do, you know, especially in the 80s in their treehouse where they can see boobs, I guess.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. I love this movie though. And turns out monsters are real and they come to this town of all towns. And these children have to fight Dracula and the Wolfman and the creature from the Black Lagoon and the mummy, but not Frankenstein's monster because he becomes their friend. And of all the things that I deeply, deeply enjoy about this movie, the thing I enjoy the most is the little sister Phoebe. She's the best. I don't care. I don't care. She's like, you say what you want about Horace, aka that kid. Phoebe's the best. Like when she's holding Frankenstein's hand and she's like, "Come on, don't be chicken shit." I'm just like, this child is 5, and everyone like signed off on this. I love the 80s. One of the things I did not enjoy though is the editing. The thing is, I don't pay much attention to editing as someone who consumes movies. Mm-hmm. I just don't think about it because that's what's great about editing is if it's done well, then it's seamless and you don't pay attention to it and you don't notice it. For like a layperson as myself, like I'm sure people who edit for a living and like understand a lot about the craft can really see like something working really well and can sort of like step into the mode of the editor. But I usually don't. But something about Monster Squad is the edits are so bizarre. Like for a comedic film, there's a couple moments where there's just a glaring problem with the way it's edited. There's a scene where they realize they need to get a virgin to read some German shit to stop Dracula. And the scene is they're at like a diner and their like tough guy friend they made, Rudy, is like drinking a Pepsi and they're like, "Oh, we need a virgin." And he does a spit take, but the spit take doesn't have any fallout. It's like spit cut. And it's just like, we needed to finish that. We needed to resolve that. And for a movie that's only like 82 minutes, it's bizarre how many times they do this weird cut in the middle of a moment. Like, I don't know what happened on the day on set to make them need to cut, but it's very strange that they do, like in these weird places. Like, I don't know what went wrong, but it is very glaring. But other than that, I love this movie. I think it's so stupid. I love it. I can't. Jesus Christ on a cracker. It's so strange.
I remember like because I remember watching that movie also when I was younger, and it was one of my favorite Halloween movies growing up. And there was it was the scene that always stuck in my mind because I loved werewolves as a kid. That was like my go-to monster. And the scene when they shot the werewolf with the silver bullet and he goes, "Thank you." I'm like,
"Thank you."
I was like, oh, so he's not a monster. He's just a guy who's stuck that way.
Yeah.
And he can't really control himself. And that, for some reason, that resonated in me as a kid really hard for some reason. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah. I definitely leaned over to John and I was like, and that's when Rudy murdered a guy.
Yeah.
But just like a guy.
But that whole concept of a guy who's a monster against his will just resonated in me as a kid for some reason. And it stuck with me hard. It really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am not, like, I know I've seen it. I know I've seen it. But I could not tell you a scene off the top of my head. The things you're talking about sound familiar, but it's definitely been long enough that, like, I look at the cover of the movie and go, what is this thing? So I guess I'll have to rewatch it.
It's on Hulu. So
solid movie, too. I highly recommend. I have to co-sign with Rachel on this.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean,
like,
all the best 80s movies are so weird. Like, I remember trying to describe to somebody the other day the movie Real Genius. Like, because
oh yeah,
now it would make zero sense, this movie.
Yeah.
But, like I remember the popcorn in the hallway. I remember the pranks. Like, it's one of those movies that I remember loving, but to actually explain it or try and make it now, it's like, I don't know that this would work, guys.
Did you know that they tried to make Monster Squad? They tried to reboot it in 2010, and it fell through. And I've never been so glad.
I'm so glad. They better.
I've never been so
this
glad.
movie should never be touched.
No, it should not be. It should not be
It should not.
rehashed or rebooted
Never.
because, frankly, there's something so wonderful to watching a movie made in 1987 geared for kids where Dracula calls a 5-year-old girl a bitch.
Yeah.
Like it rules
Times were different
so
then.
much. Like I cannot believe it. It is strange for a 2019 palette. They do drop a slur toward the LGBTQ plus community in regards to the young boy Horace, who they call Fat Kid for the entirety of the run of the show until he looks at the bullies with a fucking shotgun and he goes,
that scene.
"My name's Horace." Chink, and I love this movie.
Oh man, I remember that scene too.
Jeez,
Wow.
man. Ugh. They kick the Wolfman in the dick. I love this movie.
Every movie's made better by someone getting kicked in the dick.
Oh, yes, for sure. Like, I mean, listen, I wanted to say more dick kicking, but I think that joke's played out.
That's
But, like,
true.
in older pieces, for sure. Like, when it was fresh and new of an idea, like, this kid's gonna kick the Wolfman in the dick.
Do you think Monster Squad was the first movie where the younger, like, bullied kid kicked someone older in the dick as the big, big roaring badass scene? You think it was the
Maybe.
first one? Because
I don't know.
like Three Ninjas was for me. I think the movie Three Ninjas was for me the movie where it was like the first movie I saw.
Yeah.
Where the little kid punched someone in the dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been weirdly thinking about Three Ninjas
Oh,
like
I've been-
a hell
yeah.
of a lot. Like I think I need to revisit that.
Well,
I've
didn't
been
Patrick
thinking about that
mention that
movie
on
a
the
lot.
last episode? Didn't he bring up Three Ninjas? I feel like he did.
No, he brought up Surf Ninjas.
Oh, Surf
I think about
Ninjas.
that movie a lot too.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think about Surf Ninjas a
I've never
whole lot.
seen Surf Ninjas. I've seen the
Oh,
Monster
boy.
Squad. So
Surf Ninjas is kind of in the same vein of Monster Squad. It's like, look, this is definitely a product of its time.
yeah.
Yes.
It's basically
Oh, for sure.
it has Ernie Reyes Jr., his little brother, a Game Gear, and Leslie Nielsen. That's all I'm going to tell you about the movie. Oh wait,
Very
and
good.
Rob Schneider.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
So
I'm in.
So that's all I'm going to tell you about
Sold.
the movie.
Well,
Monster Squad.
well, Rachel, if you had to give a 3-word review to represent your love of Monster Squad, what would that 3-word review be?
It's Wolfman's got nards.
Wolfman. Well, I guess the proper name, and so it's one word.
Wolfman's got nards.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sure. Why not?
All right.
Wolfman's got nards.
Nice.
There you go. I don't care. This is the first time I've come prepared for my 3-word review because I was just like, I was thinking about it on the train ride home from work. I was like, oh, Monster Squad, you're so weird. And I was like listening to Rock Until You Drop. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, my 3-word review is Wolfman's got nards. It doesn't explain anything about the movie.
That's fine.
It is a better version of the Dark Universe for sure. So yeah, like just if you're sad that Mummy 2018 fell through, just go watch Monster Squad and trust this is a better version of all of it.
Exactly. All right, Wally. What is the most recent thing you
You're
sure
up.
have watched?
So I was thinking about this, and just recently I watched the new show Gendy Tartakovsky has been put out called Primal, which is
yes.
and it's basically this really awesome show where there's little to no dialogue in the show, but it's basically a show about a caveman whose family gets killed, and he then ends up like bonding a friendship with a dinosaur, and whose also family gets killed, and they learn to work together to survive in the harsh prehistoric world. But that is not what I'm going to talk about. What I'm actually going to talk about is because I started watching Primal. I started this whole time I've been binge watching all of Samurai Jack.
Yes.
Oh shoot!
And like rewatching that show, I forgot how much of a piece of art that show was.
It-
I mean, it was ahead of its time in what it did for just for action cartoons in general in the 90s into the early 2000s. So and I never realized how much it kind of like for me personally, in how I just enjoy cinema and how I create a lot of the characters I ever create, like Samurai Jack played a big role into it.
Yeah.
And one episode that kind of sticks out to me the most, and there is any episode, is the episode whenever the Scotsman is in.
Oh, I knew you were going to bring that up because it's
yes.
the best.
And it's such these great episodes because every single Samurai Jack episode is always Jack versus some outside force, and it's always someone against him, and he overcomes it and they always paint him to be this invincible force of nature. Like there'll be some episodes, like there's one episode where these 4 bounty hunters are working together to figure out how to trap Samurai Jack, and each bounty hunter gives their own reason why. But then this one bounty hunter says, "Oh no, Jack will just figure out this, and he will totally go against whatever plan you had." And the way they portrayed Jack in that episode, like he was a legit force of nature. He was unstoppable. And then there was like, they all decided to work together. And they had this really intricate plan, and Jack just no-sold it. He just walked right through it, and just like, it's like, no, I'm Samurai Jack. Whatever you had, totally, I'm going to walk right through it. But then there are these episodes where it's a force of nature or some opposing force against Jack, and you see how he's dealing with it. Like there's that one episode where Jack is going up this mountain, and as he's going up the mountain, he's going through the 4 representations of the seasons. Like he's going through winter, summer, fall, and spring, and every single like season he goes through, it's like this force that he has to overcome. Like for example, when he's going to the spring season, you would think, oh, it's spring. What kind of thing could he deal with?
Snakes. I don't know.
But what he goes through is like he ends up falling asleep in this flower grove. And as he falls asleep, these plants and flowers grow over him.
Oh.
And it turns out it's like this poison ivy-esque creature that is trapping him there, and he has to break free of her spell. And it's stuff like that. It's like you have these outside forces against him. Then you have the episodes where it's like Jack versus the humongous army or something. Where like the episode where Jack was working alongside the equivalent of the 300 Spartans. And these 300 Spartans were facing against Aku's army, and he had to just go up against them. He was working alongside these Spartans, and he was just proving his might, and he was slaying through this robot army left and right. And it's just really awesome to see when it's Jack versus the unmeasurable odds. But then you have the Scotsman episodes, and I love the Scotsman episodes because it's the first time you see a character that's on Jack's side that's equivalent to Jack. Because everyone else, Jack is always like, one step above them. But the Scotsman is the first one that Jack can look at him and he's his equal in everything. Not just like, he's like his equal in skills, his mindset that he's just this guy trying to survive in this world and defend himself.
Yeah.
And I love the Scotsman episodes. And the first episode was so great that shows the pure definition of how these two guys are equals, because this episode starts with Jack, as always, just walking alone in this wasteland, and he comes across a bridge, and it's a very narrow bridge, 5 foot wide bridge. I'm talking like a DM. It's a 5 foot wide bridge, and he's walking across it.
I roll for perception. Thank you.
And he hears a bagpipe playing.
Okay,
in
so
the
I
distance.
rolled like a 17.
Yes, he
Okay,
rolled
I
a
love
17. And as he looks up, he sees a Scotsman. And he's pretty much a Scotsman. Big, burly dude, big red beard, a missing leg that's replaced with an AK-47, and he's just playing the bagpipes. And they stop in the middle of the bridge. And because the bridge is so narrow and it's suspended over this deadly chasm, they can't, just go around each other. One of them has to walk back to all the way they came so the other person can go around. But they're both too stubborn to do that.
Ooh.
But what's so great about that scene is, and if you look it up on YouTube, it's this scene where the Scotsman just rips into Jack and he insults him for, I think it's like for a solid like 2 minutes. He just insults him left and right, rips into like what he's wearing. He calls him a nanny-pamby, pajama-wearing sissy and everything like that. He goes off on him. And then like they eventually get attacked by Aku's minions and they have to cut the bridge. And it turns into this whole thing where they get stuck to each other and they have to learn to survive and work with each other. And by the end of the episode, they are now best friends.
Yeah.
And the voice of the Scotsman is the illustrious John DiMaggio, who voices every gruff guy in cartoons.
Yes.
And of course, Samurai Jack was voiced by Phil Lamar, who's honestly like my favorite voice actor of all time. Like, I don't think anyone. Yeah, I'm sorry, Matt, but Rob Paulson, as much as I love Rob Paulson, but Phil Lamar is definitely like my all-time favorite voice actor. But it's just such a like just looking at that episode and then thinking back to all the other episodes I've been watching, where Samurai Jack is just this pure art form of a show, and Jenny Tartakovsky was able to nail, and he does this a lot for all of his stuff, where a lot of his action cartoons, he has very little to no dialogue in any of his shows. It's just he lets the background tell the story. He lets the music tell the story. Yeah. And sometimes there's no music at all in the episodes. And he just lets the visuals tell the story that he wants to tell. And he nails it so well. And I think like Jenny Tartakovsky is like one of those guys that I can say his style of storytelling has grown so much. Like back when he first started with Dexter's Laboratory, where it was like the simplistic, slapstick kind of humor, to this really deep, mature stuff right now. So you can tell like this guy has range in his storytelling. And I just realized I totally ranted about Samurai Jack and how much I love it. I never told what the whole story of Samurai Jack is to the people who've never watched the show.
It's okay. Don't worry. I was gonna pick that up. So for those of us out there who may have only watched the opening of Samurai Jack after Powerpuff Girls and went, "Oh, this looks too serious," what happened?
So
should
Samurai
I
Jack
say it?
is one of those shows that has a pretty basic premise and builds from it pretty brilliantly. So the basic story is that Aku, the biggest, scariest, most deadliest demon.
Yeah.
Aku was frightening.
Because I gotta say, like, I remember Samurai Jack was a guy, and he was flung into the future.
Correct.
And they needed to fight future monsters?
Should I say the whole intro? Because I could totally do it.
Yes. Wally, yes. Please.
Long ago in a distant land, I, Aku, the shape-shifting master of darkness, unleashed an unspeakable evil. But a foolish samurai warrior, wielding a magic sword, stepped forth to oppose me. Before the final blow was struck, I tore open a portal in time and flung him far into the future, where my evil is law. And now this fool seeks to return to the past and undo the future that is Aku.
Well done.
So yeah, that's the premise of the show.
I already changed the channel for Animaniacs. This sounds serious.
It was a really serious. It was way too serious.
Yeah,
to
It
be
actually
on
just
Cartoon
like-
Network.
no, I'll fight that. It wasn't. So the premise was, but every episode had levity. Every episode had some fun. Like there were dark and serious episodes, but for the most part, there was a nice amount of levity and comedy throughout the episodes.
Yeah, it was very like Gendy's style of comedy.
Correct.
Where all of his comedy is very visual.
Yeah.
He doesn't tell jokes. All of his comedies were like, hey, this is the joke. Bam, it's in your face kind of on the screen. Like there was the episode when Jack locks his sandals and there's this really funny montage of him putting on different shoes so he can learn to fight. And there's one scene where he puts on a pair of stiletto shoes that he thinks would help him fight because the stiletto heels are these spiked knives.
Yeah.
So he's thinking, oh, I can kick people. This will work. And then he goes after these thugs and he's about to fight. And the thug's like, oh my gosh, he's going to beat us up. And then a gust of wind blows his kimono up and he pushes his kimono down like Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, amazing.
And like all these guys around him like, oh, and he's like, nope. And he runs away. It's like kind of jokes like that Tartakovsky does in a lot of his shows.
Yeah. The thing that piqued my interest about Primal, which I haven't watched yet, is the legacy of Samurai Jack. I mean,
Yes.
of the kind of more serious, but moments of levity, kind of artful cartoons. Samurai Jack is one of the ones that have stuck with me the longest, just because of the design style. Also, like to take a character like Samurai Jack and with using as few words as possible, give him as much characterization as Phil Lamar does is pretty impressive. I'd only watched the first episode of Samurai Jack fairly recently when they re-released it, because when it was on TV, like we were talking before, when you're a kid, you don't see full runs of shows for the most part. You see whatever's on. And so I always knew the story of Samurai Jack because of the intro theme song and narrative, but I never actually saw that first episode. And it's actually really interesting to see how Jack is raised and trained, and like how like the lead up to that fight with Aku and then getting sent back into the past. It's really quite awesome.
It's very Batman-esque.
Yes. And what's really also really cool about some of the episodes that Wally mentioned, like the Scotsman episode, is that for the most part, Jack is always battling against the evil and trying to beat the monster of the week. But the Scotsman's episodes are great because not only does he meet his equal that he still fights and then earns a respect for, but then whenever that character comes back, it's always a reunion, and it always makes for a more fun episode with some more levity. The interwoven narrative between the monster of the week was very good. It wasn't unlike your Buffy's and other kinds of monster of the week shows, but it was the beauty of the animation that really sold it beyond some other things in a similar vein.
And it's what was also so great about Samurai Jack is that and I know, like I was saying, for me personally, is that I pretty much whenever I create things, whenever I create a character, I always see myself going back to shows like Samurai Jack or all of those action cartoons that I watched as a kid. And when you really think of it, we don't have many action cartoons anymore.
Not really, no.
We don't. And it just feels like we really need it again. We really do. And like, it's a shame that OKKO was canceled, because a show, we just need action cartoons that tells a really good story, and we don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, it's like I'm always thinking back to shows like Samurai Jack whenever I'm creating something, whenever I'm creating a setting. I'm always like realize, I'm like, oh, I just took that from Samurai Jack, or I took that from SWAT Cats or something. And
oh, fucking SWAT
Cats is
Cats,
so good.
man.
Yeah.
SWAT Cats, yes.
And I'm realizing I'm taking stuff from those shows and I'm applying to like when I'm doing my creative process now. And I'm so glad we had shows like that back then. And then when Jendy finally made the overall conclusion of the story of the Samurai Jack story, when he made that final season, that was just, I cried during that last episode. Not because like the episode itself was beautiful, but to me it felt like, yeah, this is the end of something that meant a big part of my childhood and my overall growing up and development of the person that I am creatively. Yeah. And it resonated in me something pretty hard. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I've been watching.
Yeah. So, Wally, if you had to describe Samurai Jack in 3 words, how would you describe it?
Watch out, Samurai Jack. Because that's what they always said at the episode.
That's 4 words.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh man, that's one too many words. Okay, 3 words to describe Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
Action, cartoon, underrated.
Okay.
Love it. Action cartoon, underrated.
Yeah.
I think there should be like a colon there. Like action cartoon, colon, underrated.
Yeah.
Just our lorist of our 3-word reviews just puts periods into everything, and every time I'm like, here's the punctuation for what I said, and it's always 3 periods. Like this
To
period,
emphasize
this
the
period,
3
this.
words.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. It upsets me on a level as like someone who's just like, no, I said it was this comma, this comma, this comma. It's like 3 just descriptions. You gotta do the Oxford comma, Case, I swear. Thank you, Case, for keeping track of our 3-word reviews on our Discord server.
Because Lord knows we weren't going to do it.
No, I what did we talk about last week? I don't recall.
No.
Nothing. We didn't because
yeah.
we're a bi-weekly show.
That's true. That is true.
It is now almost 11 p.m. and it's now the time where I'm gonna get real punchy.
So
I'm very excited.
before we start to wind down the show, I really want to give Wally a chance to talk a little bit about, for our listeners, if they are not familiar with the things you've done, which they very well might not be, tell them a little bit about the kind of things you work on and where they can kind of find you on the internet, like the kinds of things that you are currently doing.
So currently, I'm pretty much part of the Digital Era Entertainment, or digitalerentertainment.com. I'm part of the Decode podcast, which is a live stream that we do every Thursday at 7 p.m. Over at the Waypoint Cafe on Ludlow Street.
Oh, cool.
I highly recommend anyone if you ever just want to go to a place just to sit down at a computer and play games all day, go to there. It's a great spot. They have great food. It's probably one of my favorite places to go in New York City. So pretty much what we do on that show is we talk about video games and more specifically esports and how they have played a huge role. And not in the past, like professional gaming has always kind of been a thing that never has been viewed as a major thing anymore. But recently now it has played a huge role in pop culture ever since now we have things like Overwatch League.
Yeah.
We have things like TCG. We have like pretty much League of Legends, Dota are now being broadcasted on television and on live streams as full competitions where you have countries having their own teams being sponsored by companies. It's no longer, viewed as this weird niche of nerd culture. This is now culture. It's now part of culture. The fact that the Overwatch League finals took place at the Barclays Center in New York City is a sign of how big esports has become from what it has been in the past when it was just a couple of guys in a room with all having a LAN party to now this. So we talk about that kind of stuff. We talk about the impact it's had in culture. We also review video games. We also every other day we also do a live stream where me and other people part of the Digital Era Entertainment, we have a thing called Defrag where we pretty much live stream games that we played with each other and we just pretty much talk about whatever. We pretty much shoot the shit. We just defrag, we just unwind and just talk about what's on our mind. And it's pretty much us trying to do our best to get ourselves out there as the alternatives to things like Kotaku and IGN. Yeah. We're trying to make ourselves known as, yes, you can be looking at going to Kotaku and IGN for your reviews and for your games, but a lot of times you're going to be getting the kind of stuff from them and it's majority of the time is very biased or paid reviews. We want to be those people that will just give you that real talk right off that. And also, doing like live streams kind of helps us connect with our fan base and kind of like
because you're living in the moment with them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, how would you say that? Because you're talking about esports related stuff, and so I'll admit that while I'm a diehard gamer, I have 2 gaming podcasts on this network. I don't follow a ton of esports, mostly because the games that are being played that are the most popular, have the leagues and stuff, are just not stuff that I'm super into. Like I
agree.
I like Overwatch casually, and I like StarCraft and League of Legends casually. Here's the Storm, but I don't really follow that stuff. Do you think that the way it's televised and the way you watch it is something that can compete with current regular non-esports on the same level? Like, do you think we'll ever have a point where there are drafts for players and there are those kinds of things that standard sports tend to have?
I don't think there'll be draft for players, but it is very much on that level that esports are definitely 100% on the level as major league sports as the NFL, the MLB, or NHL. Because matter of fact, just recently, like I know if you go to a place like Waypoint Cafe, you will see Overwatch League being played on the screens all the time. But I was actually just recently during the finals, I was walking here in Astoria. I walked past one of the hookah bars. They had Overwatch League playing on the screens in one of those bars. And that right there is a sign that it is definitely up there on the same level as the NFL or any other major league sports out there. Will there ever be anything like a draft? I don't know about that. But the teams definitely do have Cinderella stories. They have those stories where you have this drama between the teams all the time. You have the people who were in the bottom rung of the ladder, then all of a sudden they have these great wins and they pull out of nowhere. You will always have stuff like that in esports. It's just for the simple fact that because it's not really broadcast on the same level as the NFL or MLB. You have to like go to some like ESPN2, or also actually Disney XD actually shows Overwatch League every week.
Just those kids, they love that Overwatch.
But they treat it on the same level as Sunday football. They treat it on the same thing. I don't think, but it's the only problem is not a lot of people know about these great drama, these stories between the teams because there's not a lot of coverage about it. There's not a lot of media coverage that you don't see. You won't see Overwatch League, or you won't see various esports or League of Legends or anything on Sports Center. You won't see that. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be that, where we are talking about that so people can finally talk about that and see that we're talking about it and say, hey, this is actually pretty interesting. You guys should check this out. And eventually we just make esports grow bigger and bigger than it is now, because there is a lot of news behind esports that a lot of people don't see because no one is talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, there was Blizzard was all over the news this past week.
Oh, boy.
Because of what happened with
yeah.
Hearthstone and the revolution in China and all of that stuff. And so, I think what's really interesting about the time we're in now, especially when it comes from a media and consumable media point of view, is that we're all so much more aware of everything because of social media and because of how this stuff is publicized, that both good and bad news is going to elevate the awareness of all this stuff, because now people who may not even known what Hearthstone was now know about it because of this other thing that happened. I mean, it didn't hurt that also in the NBA a similar thing happened that set stuff on fire. But it's interesting to me now that because of things like social media and these other outlets like you guys who are trying to raise awareness, that both good and bad news can boost the knowledge of these things that are out there.
Yeah, and when you really look at esports, there's the bad stories like we have currently with Blizzard.
Sure.
I mean, that is a horrible thing, and now they're legit an international topic. They're no longer just in this weird bubble that is esports.
Right.
Now that senators are getting involved, they are a big thing. Then you have the really great news where you have, for example, Sonic Fox, who is my personal hero. The guy, he identifies himself as a furry.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the esports community respects him so much that he's a furry that whenever they have images of the player matchups, they always use his fursona.
Yeah.
They never show a picture of him. They always use his fursona. And then just recently he came out as non-binary male. And everyone in the esports community has respected him for that, and it is so great because the man, they are probably one of the greatest, they are honestly one of the greatest Mortal Kombat players ever of all time. And the fact that they came out as a queer non-binary POC furry is just, you covered everything right there, and you are awesome, and you are so wholesome, and we do not deserve you, because especially the fighting game community is super duper toxic. It has a really bad reputation being super toxic, super non-inclusive. Then you have Sonic Fox just coming in and say like, look, accept me who I am, and I am 10 times better than you in any video game you will play. And they just run out and they own it, and they are so awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
I didn't know they existed until the Video Game Awards last year when they won for Best Esport Player. And like, typically I rolled my eyes at Best Esport Player, not because of the fact that I don't think it's something worth winning awards for. I just think that there's a lot of hokum in the Video Game Awards to begin with.
Oh no, yeah, there is.
But
yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of hokum in most award shows,
right?
Like just across the board.
It really feels like to me when it comes to the video game awards, a lot of it is just like, it's not really. It's really pretty much who's been being talked about the most.
Right. But the fact that Sonic Fox won, the fact that I now knew who Sonic Fox was, and so I followed them, and it's been great to learn about them, because also I've had friends who recently not necessarily came out as furries, but started going to events as their personas, and it just never occurred to me that they were into that, even though they drew anthropomorphic characters all the time. And like, I'm learning a lot from the positive side of this kind of coverage. And like, I don't have to understand why Sonic Fox is a furry. I just have to know that they are. And that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's fine.
That's your thing, and that's not my thing, and that's a great thing.
And also the fact that they are actually very funny and very smart was really
they are
great to see
hilarious.
also. I love the fact that we are still, at least in these spaces of streamable media, getting content that is bettering the inclusivity of these kinds of things, because it was very easy to turn your nose up at esports for many years, and like now that I have a better understanding of it, while it's still not necessarily for me, I at least now know what it is, can talk about it on a very preliminary level, and think it's really cool that other people get to engage in this thing that, while it's not for me, is something that's valued and continuing to grow.
It also helps that we actually have faces to put to when it comes to esports. We now have faces that we can put to the various esports groups, the various teams, the various games that are played. We see this person's like, yeah, that's who plays this game a lot, and I'm gonna follow them, and they are able to connect with the community. And I think that is definitely like my ideal situation, is that finally that one day there will be a weekly show on broadcast network or on cable that pretty much highlights esports and all the players and celebrities involved with it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope for that too. I really hope that gaming gets coverage again in a way that it hasn't in a long time. I mean, on the internet there's a ton of it, but like, while X-Play was imperfect and G4 was imperfect, I liked the framework. I liked that there were shows like X-Play and Attack of the Show and all of the other shows that catered to interests that were off the beaten path from mainstream, which now have become mainstream. And I wish that there would be some return to that, because there have been forms of it, especially on the internet, but I still don't feel like there's major broadcast or major primetime shows that deal with it. Like, people like to say that Big Bang Theory helped nerd culture, and it did to a degree, but also hurt it just as much, because a lot of it was laughing at the nerds, not with them.
Yeah, it definitely it made nerd culture palatable for the generation ahead of us.
Yeah.
I always think when someone mentions Big Bang Theory, that's like, Big Bang Theory is the most popular show on television because we millennials do not call our parents enough.
Yeah,
and it was
pretty
just
much.
like the funniest thing in the whole world. It was like, they're just trying to understand like what this is, and this is the most like cookie cutter understanding that some jerk could come up with, and people are like, oh, that's nerd culture, you know. And I think that is also like an interesting debate that I've had with shows like Will and Grace, where it's like Will and Grace made like the gay community something more relatable and palatable to middle America, when you could just be like, oh yeah, I've got a friend, yeah, he's a lot like Will, and it's like, oh okay, like you get it. But also like that show is just riddled with like weird problems, like
Sure.
Yeah.
you know, like it would be nice to see representatives of communities being represented by actual members of those communities, not a room full of like dudes writing scripts about these communities. And I think the advent of media created for and by just people, you know, like the YouTube culture and esport culture and these instant connections to humans through like your live streams or whatever, I think are going to be a much better window into the world of different identities. I think it's really cool. Like, you're talking about esports, Wally, and I have no idea. All I could think is Fortnite, just forever. Even though I don't think that's an esport, but that's all I can think because I'm really out of touch.
Fortnite is an esport, sadly. I mean, I always like to call Fortnite the little meme that could.
Sure.
And because it's basically
I'm dabbing.
it's basically
right now.
a giant game full of memes.
Yeah.
And it became
With
popular.
some really weird weaponry that's available
Yeah.
at like Halloween stores now, and I'm like, what is this gun thing?
Yeah, and that's what
Fortnite.
Fortnite is super weird, but it has its pull of actual gaming celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
It has its pull, and you can't ignore it. And I think like one of the biggest things, and I think and we also go into like the whole streaming culture in general of
Yeah.
people just going online, playing games online, and showing it off to the masses. They've become celebrities because of that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, you have guys like I hate this Markiplier for one,
Yeah.
or Jacksepticeye.
Yeah.
Like those are now household names because of this.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
And I really want more, girl gamers showing off in streams, and it's
Yeah.
a shame
Yeah.
that not many of them have the same pull and love as that. Like, but hey, that's the way the world is.
Right now. But
Right now,
listen, change is granular. We can keep this party going, just like support your local girl or non-binary gamer, watch their streams, hang out, you know.
Yes,
Actually,
that's the
if
best
you
thing to
want to
do.
know, shoot me a message. I have a list of lady, non-binary, and transgender streamers that I follow regularly who are super fabulous. And if you want more of that kind of content and representation in your life, let
Hell
me
yeah.
know and I will hit you up.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely hit me up with that.
Yeah,
would
there's so
love to
much
know
out
that.
there.
Yeah.
I recently reached out on my Twitter to the tabletop role playing game Hive Mind, and I was like, hey, who's out there who's like DMing games that are ladies and non-binary and trans? And I have such a huge list that it's overwhelming. Where I'm just
Yeah.
like, I do not have enough hours in the day
Oh, yeah.
to participate in this. Like, you can find anything. Like, it's amazing.
And I try like my best to get myself like neck deep in the POC tabletop community.
Yeah.
Because it is hard to find the POC tabletop community, because in a world where you have pretty much a lot of these streams of D&D is just full of white folks.
Just a bunch of white people.
It's just a bunch of white people streaming. You know, when you find like, I'm gonna give a shout out to one is called Rivals of Waterdeep. It's a great, fully inclusive, all POC tabletop RPG. It's a great show. They're in like season 4 right now, I think. But they are a great solid show. I highly recommend it if you just want to watch a really fun D&D live stream with just a bunch of really funny people who are people of color. I highly recommend you check that out.
I love it.
Yeah, and the reason I'm not shouting out those people and asking you to message me so I can send you a list is because I don't know all of their usernames off the top of my head, and so I want to get them right.
Of course,
Yeah, for sure.
If you're looking for D&D games with people of color on it, because I haven't listened to a ton of this podcast, but I know that Austin Walker, formerly of Waypoint, works on Friends at the Table, which is a D&D live play podcast, and he is a person of color, and so and he always talking about inclusivity on Waypoint, so definitely check out that podcast as well. But yeah, I'm always looking for, like, I've seen enough of me. I'm tired of it. I don't need more white folk. I want a whole variety of different people in my media, and I'm super stoked to find it whenever I find a new one. Like, it occurred to me very recently, because I've been streaming more regularly on Twitch, that my Twitch list of the people I follow are a lot of the same folks like me, which is fine, but I want more diversity. So I've dived into a ton of other communities. Shout out to the Melting Pot, which is a great inclusive streamer community on Discord that I'm a part of, that has really opened my eyes to really awesome creators. But yeah, I think that, and I think what Wally's talking about is really great, that we're kind of at this place, this shifting point of being able to find more of that stuff, because accessibility is so low right now. Like, anybody can make anything almost at this point, and so it's really awesome to see all these different things that are being created. I definitely can't wait to check out what you're working on, Wally. It sounds really awesome.
I can't wait for you guys to check it out also.
Yeah, also I can't wait to see what our listener comes up with to make something, because listen, if Matt Storm and I can make a podcast that's been going for what, 40, how many episodes? 40 something?
40 something. I don't know.
40 something. almost 50 episodes. You can do this. Like I think everyone should have.
We
a podcast.
overshot
I
by
think so,
by a
too.
long shot. Well, this will be episode 30.
Oh, okay, like 30 something. It's fine. What is time? Time's a lake. It's fine. But yeah, like I think this is also a really important message that everyone who is creating something can like spread it around, being like, hey, you like what I do? You can also do this. And I think like anyone who has any form of a creative outlet or platform should just be like, join the conversation, you know, not just on our Discord servers, not just like following us on social media and like slide into our DMs, but like make a show that you like, you know, like if you have a microphone or if you have a webcam, like just do it, you know, like get in there. And I'm also like saying this to myself because like I have so many projects. I'm like, I want to do these things. And it's like, well, just do them. Like, who cares? Like, start now and then get good as you go. Like, that's all you got to do.
Yep.
And I want everybody out there who like wants to participate in this community by making live streams or making podcasts or starting a YouTube channel. Like, just go for it because there's room enough for all of us. This isn't a competition. Fuck capitalism. There's room for every single one of us on these platforms, in these spaces. And the more we're out there, the louder we become and the more we'll get what we want.
And also like and if you ever start doing anything like live streaming or anything and you're worried about like how many followers you have, I just remember this one thing I saw on Twitter once, and I retweeted it once, where it says, look at it like this. If you're worried about your follower base, one person fills a chair, four people fill a sofa, 5 people fill a living room, 10 people fill a classroom, 100 people fill a stadium. Put that into perspective. It gets kind of scary and overwhelming.
Yeah.
But everyone has a base of people that's going to see what they're doing. No matter how many people are watching you, people are watching you. And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yep. Hell yeah.
So thanks, Liz, for listening.
Yes, right, exactly. Our definite
Thank you, Liz.
definite one listener at least. Oh, and Rob Strobin listens
And
to
Rob.
everything.
Yeah, and Rob.
Well,
And not my mom, even though I put Spotify on her computer for this. It's fine.
I think, as it sounds like Rachel's voice has gone the way of the dodo, we should wrap up.
Yeah.
So before
it's late and my voice is tired.
before we ask Wally our final and most important question, we have some thank yous.
Yes. Thank you so much to John Presnell for the use of the song Aurora off the album Fair Game featuring Stefan Rimble.
And thank you, of course, to the incredible Katie Bug for our awesome artwork for the show, and that you
Yes.
can now get on a t-shirt.
Yeah. Our beautiful artwork and our lovely faces are on a t-shirt now if you want to wear our faces on your body. That one's weird. Like, I know I've had my face on t-shirts before. This one's especially weird where I'm just like, someone like made a art and now this art is a thing. Also, thank you so much to the Certain Point of View podcast network for letting us be here making our bullshit and doing the noise. So go check out certain POV, figure out what else is out there, you know, do research and use it as a means to find your way to your own platform where you can make stuff.
Yep.
That's your homework. Go look at what's happening on certain POV.
And then go do your
There
own
you go.
thing.
And then do your own thing.
All right, Rachel, ask Wally the question.
Now, Wally,
Yes.
this is the question we ask at the end of every episode to our guests. If you could choose one trope from cinema or television or whatever to become true in your life that you could live out, what trope would that be?
Oh, I know this one easily.
Oh, good. Oh my God, this never happens. Everyone's always like, "What? I don't know."
Because this happens. This is like been one I've seen happening in my life a lot. Is definitely the found family trope.
The found family trope.
The found family trope,
Ooh.
where it's like this person was a loner, but then they get surrounded by people of like mind, and then they finally find this deep kinship with them.
Oh, I love that.
Yes, the found family trope was 100% something I am living my life in, and I love it. And that's definitely a trope I would love. I really enjoy living in. But if I had to choose one that I wish I could live in, it would definitely be the Super Science Guy show, where I was like a super genius and I was fighting like some kind of evil faction with my super science or something.
Oh, I love that.
Nice.
I love that.
Excellent.
I
Two for
like since I watched Monster Squad, I would like to change mine to the fun boppy montage
Nice.
of getting ready for the big fight.
Montage.
I just
Ooh,
want
great.
to be able to montage.
Montage would be a great superpower.
Yeah, because then I can montage trying to figure out my Elgato.
There was
For fuck's sake.
There was a great episode of Teen Titans Go talking about the montage and how it really doesn't work because you're not really learning anything. You're just doing something for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you think you're learning it. It's great, like how they break the fourth wall. with that.
Amazing.
Incredible.
Well,
Well, thank you so much, Wally, for coming on the show
yes,
this
thank you.
evening.
This is
I
great.
really enjoyed being on the show.
Oh,
thank you for having me.
And thank you, Matt Storm, for being my co-host and my butter-upperer.
Thank you, Rachel Quirky Shank, for being the guidance and the brilliance behind this show.
Stop it. And thank you, listeners.
Thank you,
Because there are
Screen
more of
Beans.
you.
There are more.
Thank
of
you all. A whole can of you,
The whole
and not
can of
just like a
Screen
little
Beans.
can, a full Costco can of beans. That's
s-
you, our
of Screen
listeners.
Beans.
That's at least like 45 beans in there, right?
Yeah, at least.
In a
At
Costco
least.
can?
We at least
Yeah.
have 45 beans. So
Okay, my voice is officially done. Get us out of here, Matt Storm.
thank you to all 45 beans and any others that we discover. We will see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere. Bye-bye.